And so they were. First of all, Wakteshumai, Tewindro, and the Neolithic ladies, tightly holding on to the stranger man whose hair was full of mud, although he was a Tawara. Behind them came the head chief, the vice chief, the deputy and assistant chiefs, all armed to the upper teeth, the hetmans, the head of hundreds, platovs with their platoons, and dolmens with their detachments, woons, neguses, akuns, raking in the rear, still armed to the teeth. Behind them was the tribe of hieretical order, from owners of 4 caves, one for each season, a private reindeer run, and 2 salmon leaps. 2 feudal and pronaphagus Vilians, a semi-entitled to half a bearskin of winter nights, 7 yards from the fire, and adscript serfs holding up the revision of a scraped marrow bone under Harriet. Aren't those beautiful words, best beloved? They were all there, prancing and shouting, and they frightened every fish for 20 miles, and Tegumai thanked them in a fluid Neolithic oration. Then Teshumai, Tewindro, ran down and kissed and hugged Taffy very much indeed, but the head chief of the tribe of Tegumai took Tegumai by the top knot feathers and shook him severely. "Explain! Explain! Explain!" cried all the tribe of Tegumai. "Goodness sakes alive," said Tegumai. "Let go of my top knot. Can't a man break his carp spear without the whole countryside descending on him? You're a very infuriating people." "I don't believe you've brought my daddy's black-handled spear after all," said Taffy. "And what are you doing to my nice stranger man?" They were thumping him by 2s and 3s and 10s till his eyes turned round and round. He could only gasp and point at Taffy. Where are the bad people who speared you, my darling?" said Teshumai Tewindru. "There weren't any," said Tegumai. My only visitor this morning was the poor fellow that you were trying to choke. Aren't you well, or are you ill, O tribe of Tegumai?" "He came with a horrible picture," said the head chief, "a picture that showed you were full of spears." Perhaps I'd better explain that I gave him that picture," said Taffy, but she did not feel quite comfy. "You!" said the tribe of Tegumai all together. "Small person with no manners who ought to be spanked? You!" "Taffy, dear, I'm afraid we're in for a little trouble," said her daddy, and put his arm round her so she didn't care. "Explain! Explain! Explain!" said the head chief of the tribe of Tegumai, and he hopped on one foot. "I wanted the stranger man to fetch Daddy's spear, so I drawed it," said Taffy. "There wasn't lots of spears. There was only one spear. I drawed it 3 times to make sure. I couldn't help it looking as if it was stuck into Daddy's head. There wasn't room on the birch bark. And those things that Mommy called bad people are my beavers. I drawed them to show him the way through the swamp, and I drawed Mommy at the mouth of the cave, looking pleased because he is a nice stranger man. And I think you are just the stupidest people in the world," said Taffy. "He is a very nice man. Why have you filled his hair with mud? Wash him." Nobody said anything at all for a long time, till the head chief laughed. Then the stranger man, who was at least a Tawara, laughed, and then Tegumi laughed, till he fell down flat on the bank. Then all the tribe laughed more and worse and louder. The only people who did not laugh were Teshumai, Tewindro, and all the Neolithic ladies. They were very polite to all their husbands, and said idiot ever so often. Then the head chief of the tribe of Tegumai cried and said and sang, "Oh, small person without any manners who ought to be spanked, you've hit upon a great invention." "I didn't intend to. I only wanted Daddy's black-handled spear," said Taffy. "Never mind. It is a great invention, and some day men will call it writing. At present it is only pictures, and as we have seen today, pictures are not always properly understood. But the time will come, O babe of Tegumai, when we shall make letters, all 26 of them, and when we shall be able to read as well as to write, and then we shall always say exactly what we mean without any mistakes. Let the Neolithic ladies wash the mud out of the stranger's hair." "I shall be glad of that," said Taffy, "because, after all, Though you've brought every single other spear in the tribe of Tegumai, you've forgotten my daddy's black-handled spear. Then the head chief cried and said and sang, Taffy dear, the next time you write a picture letter, you'd better send a man who can talk our language with it, to explain what it means. I don't mind it myself, because I am a head chief, but it's very bad for the rest of the tribe of Tegumai, and as you can see, it surprises the stranger. Then they adopted the stranger man, a genuine Tawara of Tawar, into the tribe of Tegumai, because he was a gentleman and did not make a fuss about the mud that the Neolithic ladies had put into his hair. But from that day to this, and I suppose it is all Taffy's fault, very few little girls have ever liked learning to read or write, and that's a terrible moral. Most of them prefer to draw pictures and play about with their daddies, just like Taffy. There runs a road by Marrow Down, a grassy track today it is, an hour out of Guilford town, above the river way it is. Here, when they heard the horse bells ring, the ancient Britons dressed and rode to watch the dark Phoenicians bring their goods along the western road. And here or hereabouts they met to hold their racial talks and such, to barter beads for Whitby jet, and tin for gay shell, torques and such. But long and long before that time, when bison used to roam on it, did Taffy and her daddy climb that down and had their home on it. Then beavers built in Broadstone Brook, and made a swamp where Brantley stands, and bears from Sheer would come and look for Taffy Mai where Chambly stands. The way that Taffy called Wagai was more than 6 times bigger then, and all the tribe of Tegumai, they cut a noble figure then. And that's the end.